Welcome, friends. My name is Avinash Gorakshakar, and I welcome all of you again to another interesting series of Konexio HighFlyers. Friends, in these episodes, we talk to emerging companies from emerging sectors, and we make it a habit to talk to the promoters of such companies so that all of us can understand these companies in a much better way. We can talk to them about their company's business model, their growth journey, their future plans. And friends, today we've got a very interesting company which is going to hit the capital market very soon. The company's name is Z Tech India Limited, and we have the privilege and pleasure of having the Chief Business Officer, Mr. Sunil Ghorawat. Sunilji, welcome to the show. Thank you very
Thank you
much for
so much,
sharing your
sir.
valuable
Thank
time.
you. Good afternoon,
Yeah,
everyone.
yeah. And I do hope this interview will be very fruitful for all our viewers, so that all of us can understand your company's operations in a much better manner. So,
Absolutely,
Sunilji,
sir.
without wasting time, first question, which is very elementary and which is very important for all our viewers, is that if you could just share with us, what is the business model of our company? We read that there are three main divisions of the company. We are involved in setting up of theme parks, then geotechnical services, and plus specialty services like water purification, specifically for industrial segments. If you could throw
Sure.
light on all these three segments and briefly tell us about these business segments for us.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much. Sir, JetTech India, started as a more of a geotechnical company, providing solutions for purposes such as flyover constructions, river embankment, landslide protection, etc., etc. As they move forward, because they were also handling a lot of flood protection and river embankment thing, they got an opportunity to do some chemical extraction out of the wastewater business. And that's how the second division of the wastewater treatment started, using primarily some proprietary technologies to extract chemicals out of it. And the third, the last one, and the most important one, business started because of our interest in recovering wealth out of waste. And that was creating these sustainable theme parks. When India was going through this Swachh Bharat Abhiyan and all that, we realized that there is a lot of waste which is getting collected everywhere. And at the same time, because of our interest into the area of public art, we felt that more and more needs to be done in terms of providing some meaningful solution for reusing this waste or recycling this waste and create something meaningful. And we converted these waste into, initially, to start with, more into beautification projects of a city, roundabouts and other things, which were very highly appreciated in the city of Delhi by one and all. It got noticed by the very senior people in the government as well. Because of the visibility it got at that point of time, we were asked to think, can you do something and create some theme parks? And which I thought was a brilliant idea, in a way that people need outdoor places. People need to be educated about various things. At the same time, if we can probably have sustainability and same time, cleanliness, those kind of a things, we came out with the first project, which is called a Waste to Wonder Park, in Delhi. That project created history, of a different nature altogether. It will be one of the first public project in the world where the government had a payback of less than 1 year. It became that successful. It got widely covered globally by almost every channel worth its salt, right from CNN to BBC. Everybody talked about how waste has been used to create this theme park. And I think that is the time when this journey started soaring. And today, I think we will be the dominant or the only player in this segment who has been converting these waste into theme parks. And since then, we have almost completed many projects. Many of them are fully operational. Some of them are ready to be operational post the elections get over. The code of conduct gets over. So basically, three lines of business: geotechnical solutions, chemical extraction, and sustainable theme parks.
Sunilji, now tell me one thing. As a kind of a strategy, obviously the theme park business I was seeing is one of the larger contributor to your revenue. I mean, can we safely assume that over the next, say, 2 to 3 years, this will be the key focus area for the company, or will the other two areas, that is water treatment, kind of business, plus the geotech, technical kind of services which you provide, will these businesses also be scaled up significantly? If you could please share your thoughts.
Sir, if you look at our overall industry size across the three segments, they basically remain in the range of 2 to 3,000 crore rupees. And we feel we have still miles to go. At the same time, we feel that we have to have a balancing approach in terms of our B2B business, and when we have been able to create a more of a B2C business, which provides more predictable cash flows, which provides better margins overall. So keeping that same focus in mind, and keeping on all three lines are equally important. We intend to keep it growing in the same ratio of 60 into B2C kind of a segments and 40 into B2B segment.
Okay, understood. Sunilji, now one thing which I have observed was that in FY24, that is the latest accounting year, the theme park business has actually been scaled up quite significantly. If you look at the other two businesses, they have been growing very steadily. Now,
Right.
what has been the key reason for such a sharp increase for the park business in FY24? Any specific reasons, if you could please share for us?
Sir, a couple of reasons, sir. The first reason is, success is the biggest, multiplier, because of the immense success which we had in our initial few projects. Government also came out with a notification saying that every municipal corporation should do a waste to art park. And if they do it, they get extra points in their Swachhta ranking. So
Okay,
today we don't push our business. We have a more of a pull effect. We get
okay,
called by any and every corporations, development authorities to come and probably do something in their city. And
okay.
that kind of a pull effect has given a significant multiplication in our business, and we see that it to continue for coming years ahead.
Okay. Okay. No, understood. One thing which I wanted to understand, Sunilji, is that now you mentioned that each segment is worth about 3,000 odd crores. Now, in terms of growth opportunity, what is the level of competition which we are seeing, in this segment? Like, you have been one of the front runners. You all have been amongst the first who have entered this segment. But what is the degree of competition, in the theme park business as well as in the other two parts of the segment in which you operate? If you could just share your thoughts with us. Yeah,
Sir, in
please.
regard to your question of competition, as far as the sustainable theme park is concerned, we do not have started doing these theme parks, and being the category creator, early mover as of now, we do not find competition who is doing these sustainable theme some projects related to beautification, but that is it. But there is nobody who is doing these kind of a sustainable theme parks. As far as the chemical extraction is concerned, there are couple of alternate technologies which are there, but there is no competition per se to our patented technology as we speak. As far as the geotech segment is concerned, there are international players like McAfee, etc., who are established player in this segment, but they are on the premium range of the segment as we speak. And then there are some smaller player than us who are offering similar kind of a solution. But at our level, generally there will not be any worthwhile competition to talk about. Our biggest challenge remains more with the players who come from the unorganized sector, which have to be dealt on a case to case basis.
Okay, so understood. I think Sunilji, tell me one thing, that is execution a big challenge? Like whenever you get a order from the customer, for a sustainable theme park, what is the normal timeline given to you for finishing, let's say, a project of a reasonably medium to large size? So, is execution a big challenge, or this is part of the business? Like, you have got all the infrastructure, the people, the planning, so it is done within a proper, decided targeted time frame. If you could please tell us.
Sir, we have been fortunate that we have been able to establish a reasonably good team. Today, as we speak, we will be the largest employer of artist and artisan in this country. And typically, these projects, are completed within a time period of, let's say, 3 to 12 months, depending on the size, location, availability of scrap, etc. For example, we intend to do a project in Prayagraj, before the Kumbh starts. It will be a very ambitious project, but we have only 6 months to complete. So we have done all our planning that once the, code of conduct gets over and the tender gets floated and all that, and then we will be able to execute in a given time frame. Having said that, as we grow faster, the challenges will remain in terms of scaling up our execution capability, and we are mindful of that situation, so we are already preparing for it to see that how do we enhance our team. As far as the chemical extraction business is concerned, we only have been catering to the blue chip customers. We are selective in terms of the projects which we take, and we are on a regular basis enhancing our technical and execution capabilities there. Geotech business, we are an old player in that segment. We have established teams, systems, processes in place, so we don't see that as a challenge at all.
So I think understood, Sunilji, nicely articulated by you. Sunilji, now tell me one thing. You mentioned about some idea about the customers you cater. Like you said, the specialty treatment business you cater to select blue chip customers. If you could tell us on the theme park business, is this largely a government dominated sector where most of the customers are government oriented agencies? And if you could share some names, I believe that Delhi has been a very large area for you. I mean, which are the other geographical areas, I mean, locations where, the company has done reasonably good amount of work, or, is expected to do some good work in the, say, next couple of years? If you could please share your thoughts.
Sure, sir. Sir, Delhi has been the forefront of this evolution of waste to art, you know, public art. And today Delhi claims, and for right reasons, that they are the world's largest waste to art city. And which is a good, kind of a branding to have, in terms of the work which they have done over a period of time. Uh, Apart from that, sir, we need to keep in mind that today to do any outdoor park, the first key criteria or the key requirement is land.
Hmm.
Now, government has significant land available with them. They are supposed to provide for public good, community park, green areas, and such, kind of a locations. So obviously, they remain our key partners in this journey, that they have lands which are either underutilized or not utilized at all. And we come in, partner with them, turn them around into a theme park. They make money, we make money, consumer get a choice to probably visit a nice destination. So obviously, government agencies, whether it's a nagar nigam municipal corporation, or development authorities, which most of the larger cities have, or even now the tier 2 cities have, we continue to work with them.
Okay.
Apart from that, tourism departments of the various state governments can be a potential partner for doing these projects, because they need to promote tourism in their respective states. But again, that will fall into the government side of it.
Okay.
As we have established our business model, we find a private player coming to us, that, oh, we have this land available. Can we do something together? Now, if I go as a company and buy these kind of a land, it becomes expensive. And our key, working philosophy is that we need to make all our parks affordable. When I talk about affordability, it means I have to keep the capex down, I have to keep the opex down. And so once I partner with someone who has a land parcel available, it becomes, brings in that affordability quotient into it. So
Okay.
that is where our, most of the working is as we speak.
Okay. So I think understood. You mentioned one small input, Sunilji, at the beginning of the interview. You said that the payback for your initial theme park, created history, and the payback was also very quick. Now, please let us understand, how does the payback in these projects happen? From where does the park earn revenue? How is the OPEX covered? Because obviously these are all public kind of facilities. So, if you could give us some idea as to how the payback gets factored in and how the payback gets recovered, if you could give us a small example.
Sure. So let's say, for example, any agencies wants to develop a 5-acre theme park. So the basic initial capex goes in terms of creation of these theme park. So let's say 5-acre park, government has spent around 8 crore rupees, for doing up this park. Now the park gets created, now the operation role comes in. The Each of these parks are ticketed.
Okay,
Tickets are in the range of around 100 rupees, which is extremely reasonable compared to any theme park category in the world. Most of the
exactly.
theme parks in India would be in the range of 1,000 to 2.5, 3,000 rupees.
Yeah.
Internationally, they will be 12 to 15,000 rupees. Giving
Okay.
an access to a 100 rupee theme park is a kind of an unthinkable probably several years back. Now, if I have, 100 rupee ticket, and on average, if I get 2,000 visitors a day, which means 60,000 visitors in a month, which means I have revenue of around 60 lakh rupees a month, which multiplies by 12, it's like almost 7.2 crore rupees,
Okay.
only is my ticket revenue. Now, mind
Okay.
you, there will be operational expenses. The operational expenses in our case is mostly related to housekeeping, security, or a regular general maintenance of these pieces of public art. I would probably take 20-30%, might be the operational cost, or let's say 40%. If I take 7.2 crore rupees, 40% out, around 2.8 crore rupees out, so it's like left is around 4.4 crore rupees. 2 years government will have a payback.
Okay. So basically, Sunilji, I wanted to understand. Now you explained this very beautifully for us. Can we assume that the theme park business is roughly something like a 60% kind of margin business? Because obviously once the capex is over, the opex cost is also recovered, from the ticket sales. I mean, is it a kind of a nice fat margin business for the company? Because obviously, the payback is high for the government, but from a business standpoint of view, segmentally, can we assume that this is a nice, attractive, double-digit margin business for us?
It is definitely a double digit margin business. It is not only for us. It is the good thing or the beauty of this whole thing is it is for the government as well. The money
Yeah.
which they make out of our theme park, let's say after 2 years for next 18 years, they
Ah,
can improve so many other parks which might not be in the best of the situation by
okay.
earning from a single park.
Exactly. I think very nicely said. Sunilji, now having understood the economics of the business, tell me one
Sure.
thing on ground. Currently, what's the appetite for these theme parks? You mentioned in your initial remarks that obviously people are running after you. A lot of theme parks are being opened across the country. Now, currently, officially, if you could tell us, as on date, what's the kind of order book we are currently having? And typically, how much time does it take? Is it a tender business like, some states tell you, okay, there is a tender which is going to open in this month? So normally सारा business tender based ही होता है. If you could please tell us.
Sir, we want every business to be tendered in the government. I do not want that, government calls me and say that, ZTech, please take the order, because
Yeah.
that's not a, fair competition. So I want, tender to happen, and I'm more than confident that we have the capability to win that tender,
Okay.
because of the work which we have done, because of the kind of an ecosystem we have been able to create, So, obviously, tender is a norm, and that's a good thing that it is a norm, in my opinion, particularly in a
Okay.
government working, As far
Okay.
as the, number of opportunities are concerned, I can tell you that even if I take the, top 100 cities of India, and we were working on some calculation, let's say, for example, the cities which is 5 to 25 lakhs can have one park, small
Okay.
cities. I'm just giving you a very conservative estimates.
Yeah.
Cities which are 25 to 100 lakhs can have possibly four parks, and cities which are more than 1 crore and above probably can have 6 to 8 parks. Now
Okay.
you can imagine the number of parks which can be created of this kind across the cities. So there are almost some 75 cities which are 5 to 75 lakhs. There must be 20 plus cities, which are into that, range of 25 to 100. And there are four or five cities which might have a population of more than 100 crore. So this tells you that even to start with, you're talking about almost, 100 and to 200 theme parks. No company in the world would have created or managed 200 theme parks. So we basically, if we are able to execute our plan, we would be the largest sustainable theme park operator in the world.
Okay. Okay. Understood. Sunilji, now a further simple elementary query. When you say waste, based theme parks, typically what are the materials? What is the kind of waste material which the company uses? For a layman, it's very difficult to believe that from waste you can create so much value. So tell us, what are the typical waste material which the company uses to use for these theme parks to beautify them and to give the final product to the government?
Seeing is believing to start with. So I invite you and everyone else to probably, visit one of our theme parks.
Okay.
It won't be, much for me to claim that you'll be mesmerized to start with, that how waste can be reused
Yeah.
in such a fashion. That's how my journey started into this, right? So
Okay.
it was like unbelievable to see that what waste can do. Now,
Okay.
having said that, we work with the government in terms of the waste which they have, and
Okay.
typically we look for the waste which has a shelf life of 10 to 20 years minimum to start with. So
Okay.
when you do that, typical waste which will be used will be steel, tires, automobile parts, glass waste, e-waste, thick plastic, big fallen trees if they might have, the things which again can provide us the shelf life of a longer period.
Okay.
Obviously we will not use a thin micrograde, plastic. We will not use textile necessary to start with, because
Okay.
difficult to have that kind of a shelf life. So those are the waste which gets generated in a very large quantity in every city of ours, and we use those waste to convert these parks.
Okay. So I think understood. Very nicely articulated again, Sunilji. Sunilji, now tell me one thing from a business standpoint of view. You mentioned that you are possibly one of the frontline, leaders in this segment. Now, what are the main competitive modes enjoyed by us, and what differentiates us from the other smaller unorganized players? Is designing a critical aspect of the business, or is there any critical variable which actually differentiates us with the competition? If you could just throw our lights and tell us something on the qualitative side, which will give us a better understanding of the business potential ahead.
Well, basically, I would create the differentiation into three parts. The first differentiation would be is to, start with the creativity side, in the ideation side. We have been able to put together a team who goes and understands every city, what this city is about, what this city needs. Is there a history about it? Is there something, the city probably wants to see? So I think the first differentiation starts is to probably capture the mind of the city where we are proposing a park. That itself requires some form of experience, structure, a team who can probably visualize that. So that's one
Okay.
critical advantage which we have. The second, critical, advantage which we have is our experience of, successfully working with the government to create a win-win situation. And I think that's the most difficult, part for most of the companies. So we have had the patience, we have the ability to understand their needs, we have an ability to understand the ground reality, we have the ability to understand what are the CVC guidelines are about. We have an understanding about what you can do with the government, what you cannot do with the government, which is not easy for a small player, or most of, even players in our size also, to probably work around. I find many people who probably say that, sorry, we don't want to work with the government. you know
Okay.
they hear the word government and they run away, while we are, more than welcoming to probably work with the government, because we understand that an official there also has his own limitations. They also work in a certain boundaries, and we need to make them comfortable in terms of what can possibly be done and what cannot be possibly done. So that's our second biggest, advantage, which I'll say. And the third biggest advantage, which I feel is equally important, is the operation capability. Today, none of these theme park would be, successful if you do not have excellence in operation of these theme parks. Now that requires a tall task of management, your organizational bandwidth, with the experienced team which we have, we are able to put that together, that how a park has to be ticketed, how a park has to be maintained, what events have to have at the park, what kind of a food outlet should be there, what kind of a kids activity has to be there. All
Okay.
that learning of, or having the ability of operating a park at that level, creates a very, very potent combination of ideation, then winning the job. Obviously I take execution for granted to start with, and then the operation.
Okay.
These
So
would be the
understood.
critical.
Well, I think very nicely, mentioned by you, Sunilji. Sunilji, tell me one thing that you said that you also design basically the ticketing side, the what kind of food outlets the theme park should have, all other related activities. So does the company also earn any sort of O&M kind of business also, like operation and maintenance as a regular income across the life cycle of the park, or is it a
Oh,
one-time job? You create the park and then the government takes over?
no, sir. Absolutely, that we get into the full operation and maintenance part. The initial
Okay,
parks which we didn't know that what kind of an operational challenges it will throw. So some of those parks, we are not doing the operation, we are doing the maintenance. The contract enables us to probably have the maintenance revenue for next 10 years in those parks. Subsequently, once we understood the game, now all the parks which we are getting are coming along with the operation rights as well. So,
okay,
government also has realized that they are not in the business of running theme parks. They are there to do
okay,
larger, compliances, policy issues, So government also insists, that you only need to maintain it, you only need to operate it. And then we do a revenue share with the government. So we
okay,
have a sizable revenue, coming in the future from the operation of the theme parks. The
okay.
creation will be only a one-time revenue.
Exactly. Exactly. Sunilji, now since you have told me that operation and maintenance services also is going to be part of the assignment which the company takes, as of March 24, have we accounted for this O&M services, or is this actually the has this got to also flow into the numbers in future? So I just wanted to know some part of it has got factored in, or that money will come later. That revenue from O&M.
Sir, good question. The first park which we got to start operating and maintaining only started on March 12th of 24.
Oh,
And it has been doing phenomenally well, since we have started operating it. Just to give you some numbers, that in 2.5 months, we have around 180,000 visitors,
okay,
and with almost a revenue of around 1.6 crore rupees, coming out of the operation of these theme parks. Now, none of these income have been accounted in the FY24 because this just started 15 days
okay,
before the year was ending. So
okay,
going
okay.
forward, you will see a significant revenue stream coming out of that.
Okay. No, I think very well, nicely articulated. So typically, please correct me if I'm wrong, Sunilji. It means that the more number of parks we add and the theme parks we develop, going future, those theme parks itself will generate a good amount of O&M, business for us over the next say 2 to 3 years as more and more parks get set up by us. So is this
Absolutely
thinking
right,
right?
Avinash. Absolutely right, Avinash.
Okay. Okay, now let's come to the most important part of the interview today. Sir, we know that the company is planning to go public. If you could please share with us, what is the kind of capital the company is planning to raise? What is the main objective? And I saw the results for FY24, very strong numbers both on top line as well as profitability. So just without putting a number in mind, what is the kind of feeling you are getting as of now for FY25 and 26? Can we safely assume that this kind of growth will continue also?
Sir, definitely, we expect, a CAGR of 50 to 75% in terms of our sales revenue.
Oh,
And we expect, 15 to 20%, margin expansion also taking place, considering
okay,
we have the operational revenue will start kicking in.
okay,
As far as the IPO is concerned, I believe we are raising something around 37 odd, crore rupees, which is partly, for the working capital or largely for the working capital augmentation and some general corporate purposes.
Okay. Okay. So basically, main money is for working capital. That's the main objective for the IPO, right?
Absolutely, sir.
Okay. Now, Sunilji, one important question relating to working capital. We observed your balance sheet. I mean, the numbers are good, top line is good, profitability is good. The business model is also very robust. Now, what I saw is that, a large part of your money actually, your, cash flows are actually stuck up in debtors. Now, I can understand, since most of these are government agencies. Now, can we expect that in future the working capital cycle to get slightly better? Because, I was just seeing your operating cash flows. Your bottom line has been very solid around 7.79 crores, but unfortunately the operating cash flow for FY24 has been minus. So can we assume that in future this operating cash flow gets back into the positive as your revenue grows, as your operations get better, because now you will be raising money for working capital, so you will be adequately positioned with funds. So is this thinking right? If you could please tell us.
Sir, your thinking is mostly right. I would say, if you would have seen the kind of a heady growth which we faced, last year, and large number of projects got executed in the, month of February, March,
Ah,
because we had to meet the deadline of the, the code of conduct happening,
yeah, exactly.
and we were very focused, based on our relationship with the government, that we won't let them down. And
Correct,
so,
correct.
with a singular focus of, getting the parks done, before the code of conduct kicks in the month of March, we went all out to probably, do that. So
Okay,
you'd see that the working capital, the debtors probably, jumped during that period, but they have subsequently come down, as the new year started,
okay,
and,
okay,
as you rightly said, going forward, as our mix change between the even the parks business, you will probably see, significant improvement in terms of the cash flow part.
okay.
And
Then I think
also, as you rightly said, the government doesn't give advances. That's a
exactly.
sad part, but that's the
Yeah,
reality, So
yeah,
sometimes,
yeah.
yes, you need to take it with a pinch of salt and keep working.
I think very properly taken from you. I think very logically also answered by you, Sunilji. Now, last question for today. Sunilji, everything looks rosy now. Everything looks perfectly good for our business. I think you said the theme park business is a great opportunity. The water treatment business is also growing. The technical services is also quite well positioned. Now, tell me one thing in our business, Sunilji, what is the main risk in our business? Like, COVID was an exception, but if you leave alone COVID, in our business, then what would be the risk which you think is the major risk for our business? Typically as a business, obviously every business has got some risk attached. तो हमारे धंधे में रिस्क होगा तो क्या होगा?
सर, धंधे में रिस्क तो जरूर है, एंड आई ऑफन कीप टॉकिंग टू माय एमडी संगोमित्रा बोरगोहाइन, ऑन अ रेगुलर बेसिस, कि यार हमारे बिजनेस में रिस्क क्या है, क्या चीज के लिए वी नीड टू बी
Yeah,
एडिक्वेटली प्रिपेयर्ड इन एडवांस, एंड सर, मेरे को जो दो आंसर जो समझ में आता है, आवर बिगेस्ट रिस्क इज दैट आर वी एबल टू बिल्ड आवर पीपल कैपेबिलिटी इन अ टाइमली फैशन,
yeah,
बिकॉज आज हम ऑपरेशंस भी शुरू कर रहे हैं, तो ऑपरेशन की भी टीम चाहिए। आज हमें साल में 20 पार्क बनाने हुए, तो उसके लिए भी टीम चाहिए।
हाँ,
अगर और बाकी बिजनेस भी ग्रो कर रहे हैं, तो उसके लिए भी टीम चाहिए। सो माय बिगेस्ट रिस्क फैक्टर इज नॉट द मार्केट फोर्सेस, it
हाँ,
is not about anything else other than people to start with. And at some level, we also believe that, we need to be, managing our capital better,
yeah,
more efficiently, learn to say no to some customers if they are not the good paymasters.
yeah,
Sometimes that temptation is always there, that this creates a new reference, and particularly in the case of our geotechnical and the chemical extraction business.
yeah. Anyway, I think Sunilji, nicely articulated by you. Thank you very much for sparing your valuable time.
Thank
In
you
fact,
so much for
all
your
of us
time, sir.
could understand your company's operations in a much better way. And in conclusion, sir, please accept my best wishes to you, your entire management team, and best wishes for your forthcoming IPO also. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Avinash ji. It was pleasure talking to you.